Welcome, everyone. Are we ready? Okay, merci. We all get over here. Merci tout le monde d'être ici ce soir pour la séance ordinaire Conseil municipal de la ville de Westmount pour lundi le 6 février 2023. Thank you everyone for being here at our regular council sitting for February 6, 2023. We're going to start with, as per usual, we're going to start with some updates from council, but I just want to say welcome to those who are watching online. We always have a few people who are watching online too. We've got some residents in the room, but we also have some employees of the city, and I think some employees of Montreal that are here with us as well. Bienvenue. On est content de vous voir. I just want to also say on behalf of this council, on behalf of myself, we have always valued the work that you do. You are critical to our city, and our citizens will also tell you that the work that the team, in particular Public Works, does is incredible, and that is not lost on this council or myself. Donc, merci beaucoup. Je sais qu'il y avait beaucoup de neige pendant le mois de janvier. And not only do you deliver a service to our residents, but you keep our city safe. And we are very grateful for that. So after we do our statements from the councilors, we start with a première période de questions. We have two question periods, one at the beginning of the meeting, one at the end of the meeting. So you will have an opportunity to ask questions at that point. So thank you for being here. And I think we'll start with the updates from our councillors and our commissioners from this end of the table. Donc, Madame Kez, est-ce que vous avez des commentaires?
Thank you, Madame Mayor. I just have a little, can you hear me? Oh, can they hear me? I have a little, just a little update. Our officer Scanlon, one of our public security officers, came up with the idea to have little care packages put together. And in these packages, there's toothpaste, sanitary, socks, all these type of things to hand out to the more needy on these difficult times. And these little packages were started to be handed out on a cold snap this past Friday and will continue to be handed out. And the funding for this nice little initiative came from the Westmount Park in the summer. What is it? Family Day, and what was Dunk Your Public Security Officer. So thanks dunking, that dunking station where people were dunked, the leftover funds were used to make these little care packages. So thank you to PSOs for doing this and to Mr. Scanlon. That's it.
Merci beaucoup. Councillor Aronson.
Merci, Madame Mayoress. I've got a couple of quick things for residents of District 7. For those of you who have been following the development of the potential Hillside project at the corner of Hillside Avenue and Hillside Lane, you may be interested to know that there has been enough residents in the affected zones request a registry to see if there's enough support for a referendum on the zoning changes contemplated. We believe that this is going to be held on, this is to be confirmed, but we're looking at a date of February the 22nd. From 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. here at City Hall. If you are an affected resident, you may be able to come down and put down your name requesting a referendum on the issue if it's important to you. The details are to come, so please do watch the Westmount Independent as well as our website for further information. In terms of economic development, some great news from our merchants associations, which are now back up and running post-COVID. And they will be having their annual general meetings this month. For merchants who are members who would like to be members, we encourage you to reach out to your merchants association. There's one for Green Avenue and another one for Victoria Village to get the details of the time and place of these meetings. And finally, with respect to the Sustainability and Climate Commission, I was very pleased to be in the company of Councillor Gallery and Councillor Roux, as well as some of the employees at Public Works, to meet with Dawson College 2 weeks ago and learn about how they became a world-renowned campus for sustainability and green living, in the hopes that we might be able to build some partnerships to signal boost and to expand on some of their scalable projects that we may be able to learn some things about for our parks, public spaces, and for the city as a whole. We will look forward to continuing to build those discussions, and hopefully it will help us further develop our sustainability and climate plans for the coming years. And with that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Merci beaucoup, Madame Gallery.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la mairesse. Bonsoir tout le monde. J'ai deux petites annonces. Premièrement, je veux remercier énormément l'équipe de sport et récréation pour le carnaval qui s'est passé hier. It was a great success on Sunday, it was scheduled Saturday, but was postponed due to the cold weather. So again, I'd like to thank the Sports and Rec team and all the city employees who helped out yesterday. It was a great turnout and well appreciated, I think, by all the residents who showed up. Secondly, spring registration for all our activities. The booklet is ready. You can see it online, and registration starts next week on February 14th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci.
Councillor Peart, do you have any updates?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayoress. Just a couple of quick updates. First, about the Urban Planning Department. Now that we're just starting a new year, the Urban Planning Department can report that last year in 2022, they processed almost 1,300 projects, building projects and permits. And that represents a value of about $100 million in projects that were carried out over the year of 2022. That's a little bit higher than usual, but it kind of sets the pace for the years going forward. In terms of the engineering department, this is their planning season. Of course, with all the snow on the ground and the intemperate weathers, they are getting their departments ready for all the projects that we had planned in the summertime. There's a lot that's on the board for this year, but like I said, they're getting it ready. So you'll later on in the year, we'll be able to provide you some more updates with some very specific updates about each one of these projects. But that's just the quick update that I'm providing today.
Thank you very much. Councillor Shammy.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Just a shout out juste à tout le monde de réduire sa consommation d'électricité en période des grands froids. Comme vous savez, vendredi et samedi passé, it was the coldest in record. Hydro-Québec a annoncé and the largest surcharge in electricity pour la province du Québec. Et pour nous, ici, Hydro-Westmount recommande à tous ses clients de réduire leur consommation. So just a shout out à tout le monde, s'il vous plaît. Be vigilant, watch the weather. Aujourd'hui, c'est la température a changé, mais ça peut changer très, très vite. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Madame Roux.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Alors, I'm happy to announce that the pub quiz is back. I will do it in both, not to worry. The pub quiz is back. So it will be on Wednesday, the 22nd of February at Victoria Hall. Alors, vous venez en équipe de 6 personnes maximum pour une soirée de jeux amusante, jeux questionnaires, puis soyez pas timide si vous venez seul, on va vous jumeler à d'autres participants. C'est 5 $, mais il y a une consommation avec ça. D'ailleurs, il semble que je vais être au bar, alors je vais passer de conseillère à barmaid, c'est toute une transition. Après ça, conference on Purim foods around the world. Alors, plongez dans les coutumes et dans l'esprit du Purim et découvrez les traditions culinaires de cette fête de la diaspora juive. Il y a une conférence qui va suivre, puis il y aura des plats typiques de la fête qui seront dégustés. Pour les plus jeunes, de première année à secondaire 5, j'espère que vous êtes tous en train de vous inscrire à la compétition de McIntyre. C'est toujours un grand événement à Westmount. While I'm speaking to the younger crowd, don't forget that there's also a book club for teens, so from 13 to 17 years old. And this sounds like a lot of fun because there's a lot more you can find on the website. There's just a few that I mentioned. There's a Make Code arcade games for the 9 to 12-year-olds, which will start tomorrow and will take place for 4 Tuesdays. So at 3:15 on Zoom. And this 4-weekend online workshop, participants will learn how to code their own platformer game. Alors, il y a beaucoup d'autres choses, s'il vous plaît, vérifiez sur le site, puis on est content de voir tout le monde. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur Demico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, c'est le temps des impôts, it's tax time. J'aimerais discuter d'impôts personnels aussi, de taxes municipales. Donc, la première chose, c'est je veux faire la promotion d'une subvention qui est très peu connue, mais qui peut aider des gens. Donc, j'ai travaillé avec la conseillère Caisse sur ça. Ça s'appelle la subvention pour les aînés relative à une hausse de taxes municipales. Donc, c'est une subvention accordée par le gouvernement du Québec pour aider les personnes pour payer les taxes municipales. Donc, si au 31 décembre 2022, vous résidiez au Québec, vous avez 65 ans ou plus et vous avez détenu votre résidence pendant une période de plus de 15 ans et votre revenu familial est moindre de, le montant, il est de 58 200. Vous avez droit à cette subvention-là. Vous allez le trouver sur la ligne 462 de votre déclaration d'impôt du Québec. I would like to discuss this very unknown tax credit. I work with Councillor Kez on this one. It is called the Grant for Seniors to Offset a Municipal Tax Increase. The criteria for this, it's to help out our seniors that are low income, obviously. To be entitled to this grant, you need to meet all of the conditions below. It's a Government of Quebec grant. It's found on your Quebec income tax return. On December 31st, 2022, you were a resident in Quebec, you were 65 or over, and you owned your residence for at least 15 consecutive years. Also, your family income has to be less than $58,200. You will find this grant, so it's a dollar for dollar grant. You'll find this on line 462 of your Quebec income tax return. You should be able to find the criteria on your municipal tax bill. If you have any questions regarding this, the finance team is always there available to you. Si vous avez des questions concernant la subvention, les employés de l'équipe des finances sont toujours là pour répondre à vos questions. Et ça, c'est pour l'impôt des particuliers. Là, je parle de taxes municipales. Donc, les résidents de Westmount ont reçu 2 enveloppes, les propriétaires, pour le compte de taxes. Donc, la première, ça vient de la ville de Westmount. C'est effectivement le compte de taxes. Ça vous donne le montant de taxes à payer, les taxes foncières. Donc, c'est l'argent que nous, on obtient pour payer les services. Donc, le taux de taxation est fixé par la ville de Westmount. Ça, c'est nous. Vous avez reçu une deuxième enveloppe. Ça, c'est de notre partenaire de l'agglomération. Ça, c'est le service de l'évaluation foncière de la Ville de Montréal. Ça, c'est l'évaluation de votre propriété pour l'année, le rôle triennal, donc pour l'année 2023, 2024, 2025. Donc, on regarde une date fixe. Donc, on essaie de prendre une photo à une certaine date. Donc, on parle de la date, je pense que c'est le 1er juillet 2021. Donc, on essaie de fixer la valeur de votre propriété à cette date-là. Puis, on essaie de voir ça vaut combien. Naturellement, c'est possible que vous n'êtes pas d'accord avec l'évaluation foncière. Donc, il y a un mécanisme. Donc, dans la lettre, vous avez comment contester l'évaluation foncière. Vous avez un avis d'évaluation. Vous avez, très important, il y a un site web qui s'appelle EvalWeb, qui est le service d'évaluation foncière. Vous pouvez aller voir la valeur de votre propriété et vous pouvez cliquer sur les comparables pour voir de quelle façon, quels comparables ont été utilisés pour fixer votre valeur. Puis, vous avez sur le formulaire comment contester la révision. Naturellement, il y a des frais, puis le montant des frais, c'est indiqué sur la lettre. Donc, très brièvement, ce qu'on essaie de faire avec l'évaluation municipale, c'est de trouver la juste valeur marchande de votre propriété en date du 1er juillet. Donc, les questions habituellement que je reçois, c'est « Oui, mais ma propriété a descendu aujourd'hui, donc il y a les taux ont augmenté, les taux d'intérêt. Là, ma propriété ne valent plus ça. » Ce n'est pas vraiment la question. La question, c'est ça vaut quoi au 1er juillet 2022, ce qui est la date fixée par la loi pour déterminer la valeur d'évaluation. So, it's municipal tax time. So residents who are property owners receive 2 envelopes in the mail. One is from the city of Westmount. The other one is from our agglomeration partner, the Service d'évaluation de la Ville de Montréal. So it's an agglomeration issue, the property value. The municipal tax bill tells you the rate that was used to produce the tax bill. So it tells you how much tax you have to pay. Obviously, paying your share tax is very important as it provides the services that we pay. There are the deadlines for the payment of the tax bill indicated on the tax bill. But more important, I guess, it's the other one is from our agglomeration partner, the Service d'évaluation de la Ville de Montréal. This tells you the value of your property as of July 1st, 2021, sorry. So 2021 is the value sorry, the July 1st, 2020. Yes, yeah. So it's the value at which, so if you were to take a picture on July 1st, 2021, that's the value of your property. Naturally, you may be in agreement or disagreement with this value. A useful tidbit is you can go on the EvalWeb website and you can click on the top corner and it has a list of comparables that were used to evaluate your property. If you are not in agreement, you will see the revision procedure. It's indicated on the envelope. There are fees to file a revision, but you are obviously free to contest the municipal value. There is the website. You'll have the phone number for the service d'evaluation if you have any questions regarding the evaluation of your property. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor D'Amico. And in the coming days, citizens will also see some more information online on our website with some questions and answers of some, Councillor D'Amico has been collecting, been receiving questions from residents. So sort of putting together our most, an FAQ on some of the issues around this year's tax bill, and importantly around the agglomeration payment, which we pay, which is more than 50% of our actual budget.
I just wanted to mention one thing that may or may not be obvious. So we did decrease the tax rate. What that means is, for example, if your valuation stayed the same and we decrease our mill rate, our tax rate, your taxes go down. Obviously, the contrary is the case. So if your valuation has gone up, and even though we've decreased the tax rate, it is possible that depending on the percentage value, your taxes have gone up. So the value, the final tax bill is really made up of two numbers, which is the mill rate, the rate times the value of your property. So again, the person who's got the same valuation and we decrease the mill rate will have a decrease in taxes. The person who's got a substantial increase, for example, we have one at 40%, the taxes went up by 16%, just to give you a ballpark. Donc, Madame la mairesse, juste pour conclure, donc la facture totale, ça vient de deux chiffres, le taux de taxation fois la valeur municipale de l'immeuble. Donc, si par exemple la valeur de votre propriété a resté stable, donc vous allez voir une réduction dans votre compte de taxes parce que le pourcentage a baissé. Nous avons baissé le pourcentage d'imposition. Le contraire est aussi le cas. Donc, si votre propriété a augmenté beaucoup, par exemple par 40%, vous pouvez voir une augmentation dans le compte de taxes de 16%.
Okay, merci pour la clarification. That's it for any other comments. I did one last comment on January 27th. I mean, it's a fairly significant comment, but for those of you who are not aware, on January 27th, just a week and a half ago, we named Madame Julie Mandeville as our new Director General of the city. And she will be beginning February 20th. And so we are excited to have Madame Mandeville come back to the city of Westmount. She knows it well. She worked here for a number of years and has recently been the Director of Finance for the city of Brossard. So February 20th, we will be beginning with a new Director General in the city. And I want to thank again our acting Director General, Monsieur Dave Lapointe, who has been managing all these files for us in the interim. So merci beaucoup, Monsieur Lapointe. And we look forward, and I'm sure all of you will welcome Madame Mandeville as well into her new position. Donc, maintenant, on va commencer avec la première période de questions. On va commencer avec les questions ici en salle. Puis après, je pense qu'on avait juste une question qui était envoyée en ligne. So I would ask that you ask your question, state your name, and keep it brief, as I think there's going to be several questions tonight, and your address. And our question period typically gets cut off at 45 minutes, and then we go into the regular business. And then if there are further questions after the regular business, then we take the questions then. Donc, on va commencer avec la première question, s'il vous plaît.
Good evening, everyone. Fabrice Veil, 560 Claremont. Two topics very quickly. The first one was to the municipal taxes, because I used to live in the US before, and never, ever have I had to pay to challenge the valuation. So I find that pretty surprising. And it's $309, which is a very steep price to that. So this is exactly made to prevent people, to dissuade people from making any challenges to some valuations, which I think are overly optimistic, even on July 1st, 2022.
OK, je vais laisser Monsieur D'Amico à répondre à ça. He has all the details on that.
So the value is not a science, so the value is really,
No, the fact that you have to pay.
all that you have to pay.
The
Okay,
fact that
so,
you have to pay to challenge the value. I lived in the US before.
Yep.
I paid 20% less taxes and I didn't have to pay to challenge the evaluation of the city.
so I'm not here to defend obviously another government, but basically the rationale behind that was, and I was there a long time ago doing this. There was a lot of abuse. So a lot of persons would come to contest. So it used to be a tribunal where you'd have to come to contest a property tax bill. But persons would come just to contest. So they did not do any homework. They did not have any comparables. So it was really jamming up the court's time. So to avoid some of that and to make people present their case better, they had to institute a fee. So it's unfortunate that because there's some abuse, the government has to come in to provide.
So, and if you succeed, how do you recoup that fee? Because that would be only fair, right?
Yeah,
So
this
you
is-
do, so when you do win your case, what happens is that there will be a decrease. So I'm assuming you'd like a decrease in your property tax bill. So by decreasing the evaluation, you will have a reduction in your tax bill retroactively to the date. So you will get a refund, a tax refund from us.
The $309?
No, you will not get, I believe you will not get the, I believe
So
it's not
precisely-
a court, I believe it's no longer a court fee, Counselor.
No, but
It's
a
an
dissuasion fee.
it's a
called
fee,
a
it's an
dissuasion fee.
application fee, it's a revision fee, right?
Okay.
So no, I believe that you will not, but if you have any question regarding that, that's our agglomeration partner, le Service d'évaluation foncière de Montréal that is handling that, and you,
It doesn't allow us citizens to give much respect to the authority
well,
of that organization. I'm just
Okay,
saying.
so-
from my point of view.
so if you go on the Eval website, there's a corner at the top. It's called Visualiser les ventes. You could click there and it gives you an idea of some of the comparable properties, some of the comparables that were sold. Now, for example, let's say your property has a garage, whereas the one that's sold was not. Well, they're going to adjust the fact that you have a garage, they do not. For example, you have 2 bedrooms, they have 3 bedrooms. Well, they'll do a reduction. So that work is done, but you are free to call them. There's a phone number to get information so that you can obtain how they got to that value.
I know there's other questions. So the second question is, can you remind me the rule for idling in Westmount?
Idling,
Yes.
c'est 3 minutes. Je pense Mr. McBain is here. Is the idling law is 3 minutes.
So can one explain why on Sunday, 29th of January, there was about 50 trucks all the way down on Claremont from 6:50 a.m. to 8 a.m. idling for more than an hour. We had to call the city several times. The first time we got laughed at. So there's 2
would
things.
imagine it was
One,
the
it's
snow.
the Sunday morning, it's the noise and reasons. Secondly, I have my kids asking me, Daddy, why are all those trucks polluting for so long with the engine on? So that's a double thing. I understand there's a responsibility. We respect the work of those people, but there's also a responsibility to also show our kids that if there's a rule, it applies to everyone. And it happened again on Wednesday, February 1st, for over an hour from 7 to 8 o'clock.
So this would have been part of a snow removal
It was a
operation.
snow removal, but all the trucks were parked, did not move for over an hour or 2 days in the same week. Idling, and what notice, I didn't take a picture the first time because I was really not happy, but they were idling with half of them, the window open.
Okay, your point is
Is
noted.
that if they were idling to keep the heat in the truck, they still had the window open. So you could cut the engine and close the window.
Okay, your point is noted, and we will discuss with the Public Works team. Thank you. I think, there's someone behind you.
No problem.
Yeah, there is an exception, but
Bonsoir, Madame la mairesse. Bonsoir, conseiller, conseillère. Luc Bisson, président des très fiers Cols bleus de la Ville de Montréal, les Cols bleus regroupés de la Ville de Montréal. Madame la mairesse, avec un taux d'inflation de plus de 6% en 2022, avec une hausse très importante des taux d'intérêt, devant la hausse vertigineuse du prix de l'essence, tenant compte de toutes les journées de travail perdues à cause de la COVID-19,
Mhm.
saviez-vous que plus de 10 cols bleus de Westmount ont dû prendre un second travail pour arriver financièrement à nourrir leur famille? Que vous offrez au col bleu de Westmount des hausses de salaire pour 2021 et 2022 qui impliquent un appauvrissement significatif pour eux? Saviez-vous que la ville de Westmount est présentement une des villes de la région de Montréal qui paie les salaires les plus bas à ces cols bleus? Êtes-vous au courant de la pénurie de main-d'œuvre? De plus en plus grave dans les secteurs reliés au col bleu. En considérant la loyauté et le dévouement de vos cols bleus pour la ville de Westmount et ses citoyens, ma question est, trouvez-vous, Madame la mairesse, qu'avec les offres que vous nous avez faites, que vous traitez vos cols bleus avec respect et dignité?
Merci pour votre question et merci à tout le monde d'être ici et pour l'information. Et j'ai hâte que ça s'est réglé. J'espère que c'est bientôt. J'espère que pour tout le monde ici, que c'est bientôt. Je sais que vous avez une autre réunion vendredi, peut-être, vendredi après-midi. Et j'espère pour vous que c'est réglé. And I know it's been a long time. It's been 3 years since before COVID. So I hope for your sakes and for the city's sakes and for the operations that it is solved soon and then we come to a collective agreement that is fair and that respects the work and truly respects the work that you do.
Avez-vous
Oui,
une
deuxième
sous-question?
question, oui.
Oui, allez-vous donner un mandat clair à votre comité de négociation pour enfin régler la convention collective échue depuis 2019, comme vous venez de le dire? Ça prend un mandat clair.
Oui, puis on a beaucoup de confiance avec eux autres qu'ils vont trouver, qu'ils vont régler ça bientôt.
Merci de vos réponses, Madame la mairesse. Mes salutations.
Merci beaucoup.
Good evening. My question is an habitual one with an added twist. I've been here for the several meetings.
You have to, sorry, while we know who you are, we need your,
I'm
your
sorry, it's,
name
I'm
and
sorry.
address for
Okay,
the,
it's,
for the
Richard Dufour.
minutes and the recording.
Richard Dufour from 22 Anwa. I've come here several times asking about glass recycling, and I've been promised some news. I haven't had any news yet. I also sent an email on January 22nd to the mayor and my city councilor and Mr. Aronson in charge of sustainability, and I have not had a response. I was told I would get a response, and none has come yet. And that has to do with composting.
Est-ce qu'on peut avoir le silence en arrière, s'il vous plaît? Je peux pas entendre les questions.
There was a recent report in La Presse that was talking about how our compost collection in the island of Montreal is not really being managed very well. Apparently, there is no processing facility for Montreal, and it's being shipped to Ontario, and what's done with it afterwards is not clear. So I asked the question to find out, what are we doing with our compost? Is it being dumped with the Montreal's compost?
Mm-hmm.
I went to our city website, and it says, on your website, it says that composting is collected and sent to a treatment center, Recyclage Notre-Dame. I Googled them. I could not find a company that existed by that name. I couldn't find any information about that. And it says that it's apparently used for fertilizer and so on. One of my questions, number one is, do you know what happens to our compost that's collected at the city?
So do you want to do the glass first or the compost first?
Well,
Okay. Well,
either one. You tell me where are we with glass and tell me what's happening with compost.
The glass we are still working on with, it's the challenge with glass, as we've said, is the location of where we would put the glass bin. and working with Eco-Entreprise to manage that as well. Okay, Councillor Aronson, I don't know if you want to add anything, but it is, we've seen a couple of them pop up in Montreal recently as well. I think you've probably seen, you may have sent the photo, or Councillor D'Amico sent us the photo as well. It's in yeah,
One where, sorry?
The one at Sac Dépôt.
in a Huntsville, right?
Right across
Centre
from
Punch,
the-
okay.
So
Yeah.
there is one there.
Yeah,
there is.
so looking at, again, will be the challenge of where we put it. There's no room in the public works yard, as many of these people in this room can attest. Yeah, that it's taking up, the container will take up a fair amount of space, but we are still trying to find a solution for that and working with Eco-Entreprise to have, but we really need to put it somewhere. I suggested my parking spot at City Hall, but
but I
it's
had
apparently going to take up 3 parking spots.
I'm sorry, but I had understood that Mr. Aronson had told me that, yes, it was being worked on actively
Yeah, it is.
and thing was.
It's a container that's
Oh.
getting refitted for it. And
So do we have a timeline?
I can't give you an exact date. Councillor Aronson, do you want to add anything to this?
Absolutely. Mr. DeVore, after I received your email, I did the thing that we do when we need to make sure we answer a question correctly. And I reached out to the experts that are within our team, and I'm waiting for a detailed report to be able to share with you so that you can get the specifics of what it is you're asking about. So I don't actually have an end date in my hands that I can commit to at this meeting. It would be irresponsible for me to just pick a date and say, well, we're going to get it done by then. But as soon as I've got the information that I've requested, I would be very happy to meet with you or to forward it to you so that we can work together on getting this thing done.
Okay, and does anybody here know what happens to our compost? Can anyone tell me?
So what happens to our compost is that it went to the sites that you were referring to. So if that is not the case, then we obviously need to look into that.
The site, the recyclage and Notre
In
Dame?
Notre Dame,
Okay, and do you know what they do with it there?
that they process it, but I can't tell you exactly. If you're telling me that this site doesn't exist, then that's news to me. Do you have?
I do, correct me if I'm wrong, at least some portion of that does come back to be given out as soil to our residents every spring. So it's obviously coming back to us. It's been composted. People take it and put it in the community gardens and
That's
their
the
own.
garden compost. That's not.
That's just the garden
That's
compost.
not the house
The leaves, I
compost.
think, yeah.
That's not the
My-
chicken.
I'm
legs
sorry, you're right.
and
I've got the two conflated.
turkey.
I will
bones.
get a detailed report for you and make sure that you get it as soon as possible.
Okay, and just a.
But we also, I mean, as I think you can appreciate, we have a composting problem in our multi-unit buildings that we need to solve as well, right? Because time's up on that for the major buildings like 4300 Westmount Square. They absolutely need to be composting, and we need to figure out a way to force that on them in short order.
Well, if I may, before we start forcing people to compost, we should make sure that the stuff that we're collecting.
That it's
is not
actually
being
doing
sent
something.
to Ontario and as landfill. This is what the Price article had mentioned
Okay.
about 2 weeks ago. So, and just a little aside, I know you guys are very busy, but I had sent an email message with no response. And then I was told it was in a spam, whatever folder or something. In the fall, I was the reverse. I left phone messages with no response. I called emails. I'm not sure of the communication process with the city councilors, if it's what the best way. That's why I come here in person because.
So I'm not sure if it went to my spam folder. Typically, all my email gets responded to, and yours was in spam. Okay, so if you send it to me, I see it, or my assistant, Madame Baldoun, sees it and makes sure that someone within the department will respond to it. So my apologies that yours hasn't been responded to yet.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm the one who sent in the online questions. so I
Oh,
just
hi.
wanted to
Welcome.
answer them. So my concern is with Westmount's, I guess, collection system in terms of recycling. I'm currently an urban planning student at Concordia, so I'm familiar with.
Oh,
a lot of
sorry,
the
it's your name
processes.
as well. We know it because you submitted the question online. I think you have to state your name and address.
My name is Jessica Winton and my address is 657 Roslyn Avenue.
Thank you.
So my main concern is the recycling rates. As some of you may or may not know, the average recycling rate for Canada is about 9%, which is very, very, very low. I believe we could be doing much better in terms of policy to ensure that we do better in terms of the material that people can recycle, as well as informing people on how to recycle properly. At my time at Concordia, I was a part of the Sustainability Ambassador Program. So I had to come up with a campus initiative in terms of sustainability. And that project was an arcade game to teach people how to recycle properly, similar to the game Waste Invaders. The goal of the game was very similar to this pamphlet you sent out last year about Westmount's collection schedule, as well as tips on how to recycle properly, such as putting stretchy plastic bags all together in one bag. But I don't believe that people actually take the time to read through these things unless they really care. So one solution in terms of the arcade game that I think has been more engaging is the actual interactivity of the game itself, because you're going to remember more is once you actually engage with the content rather than reading a poster. A lot of the times, at least especially at Concordia, there may be posters next to recycling bins telling you what you can do and what you can put in each bin, but people never actually follow it. So for example, we have bins specifically for medical masks, but people will still cram in a coffee cup just because they see, oh, it's a plastic bag. That means I can put my garbage in there. But there's a recent article in the Westmount Independent, very short, along the back pages, page 19 of the January 31st issue, about are people contaminating the loads? And the answer is very obvious to anybody who works in facilities management. The answer is yes.
Yeah. So I think your question, which
My
you had
question
written
is,
to us.
how do you plan on improving policy as well as transparency? Because looking through your website, I can't find any information in terms of the rates as well as the suppliers. I know that Westmount offloads their waste management system to contractors, but none of the information gets relayed, at least from what I can see, to the public, which is kind of concerning because I put in the extra effort to make sure that everything that I'm responsible for, such as plastic that covers cheese, I wash it with soap. But obviously, most people don't.
Not everybody's doing it. So I think you're asking, what can we do more? And
Yes.
obviously, a lot of it is around education. We had talked about having, especially in the summertime, maybe having student ambassadors on the streets, especially in the commercial sector and like where people are contaminating the recycling bins. Obviously, the garbage and recycling are right next to each other. They're putting, garbage into the recycling bin, so that's contaminating it. And the pamphlet that you were talking about, that was really well received by, we had a lot of feedback on that from citizens. So I think it obviously is more of that, more education campaigns. And then working with, the provincial government, putting a deposit on all single-use beverages. That's a great way to manage recycling. And then you keep it all together, right? You keep PET within a PET stream, aluminum cans within that stream, a deposit on wine bottles, things like that. So we know that deposits work. They're more complicated, they're more cumbersome, but we know that a deposit system works in terms of recycling, and especially from a province-wide approach. So it's certainly engaging with the province on that. But I think a lot of it is education, and then we'll likely have to move to the enforcement phase. But it is education. It's education, especially in our commercial sectors where a lot of the recycling is contaminated.
Yeah, so about that, one of the things I wanted to bring up about possibility for future engagement is to have these initiatives done at schools. I don't know if any of you have kids, but kids love to correct their parents. So
I do. I have 3 and a teenage daughter who excels in it. So,
so I think the arcade game that I had made for Concordia is an open sourced game, meaning you can take the code for the game and modify it in whichever way you want, as long as it's a non-commercial use.
Okay, this would be a great. I'd love to talk to you about this outside of the council chamber with Councillor Aronson to hear more about what you've done. Certainly, a Westmount resident who's invented something like this in terms of helping with education of the population.
Yep.
And maybe it's reducing garbage pickup. We have a lot of garbage pickup here. So if we picked up your garbage less, you might be more inclined to recycle more and compost more.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing that out there as an idea that will cause a lot of backlash, but would probably work in terms of increasing.
Yeah. Another idea I had, which.
But then we should probably let the others behind you.
I'll let other people speak. You're free to talk to me after.
Thank you. But thank you for coming.
No problem.
Please do stay till the end of the meeting.
Mr. Breslau.
Madam Mayor. John Breslau, 447 Grosvenor Avenue. Lovely to see you. Happy New Year. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Question one. My wife went to the library and I went to the greenhouse, quiet time, and I couldn't stay in the greenhouse. It was too noisy. You have a whatever, dehydrator, dehumidifier, heater, whatever. I recorded it at 70 decibels, which is unacceptable. We didn't have it in the old greenhouse. Why do we have it at this greenhouse? I went to, I had to go to the gallery because it's too noisy in there. It's ridiculous.
I've never heard this complaint before. Have you heard this before? No.
I couldn't.
Mr. Breslau, hi.
Hi.
HVAC or what's it?
I can give you an answer because somebody's already posed the question to me, so I do have the full answer. The equipment you're referring to is a temporary heater installation. It is installed there because there some adjustments that need to be done with the new boiler system. And that temporary installation is still planned to be there for another couple of weeks while they solve the problem. But it is not a permanent fixture. It is a temporary fixture.
Perfect. Thank you. Second question was to Matt. Good to meet you. We have the land next to the recreation center currently with the Armory, the Montreal IMR, and that devolves to Westmount next year, 2024. The land we own and the building becomes ours. Can I take it that obviously there's a number of uses for it? It could go back to the Armory, could go back to Westmount to use as a gymnasium with council offices. I know you need room. Will citizens have a chance of getting to have an input on that?
Of what happens to the Armory that has been there for
Yes, exactly.
99 years?
Precisely.
Well, I mean, we are discussing with the Armory what their intentions are going forward. And they have occupied the space for 99 years.
Yes.
If you would like to share what you believe could go in there, you're very welcome to.
I'm quite happy with the Armory coming there, but I'm not happy with any idea of selling the building.
Well, the Armory's lease is up at the end of 2024.
So releasing it is an option, correct?
Je vais laisser Monsieur le Greffier will answer this.
Avril 2024.
Avril 2024.
Yes.
Yes, April 2024. So another
At
year.
that stage, is the DND interested in buying it or leasing it?
Is the RMR interested in buying it or
Is the
leasing it?
DND, the Department of National Affairs, who are going to be?
Yes, I think they're looking at all different options at this point.
Can I suggest to you that we don't repeat the disaster that McGill did, that sold its properties down to Maisonneuve? My alma mater, University of Cambridge, has had land in London for 800 years. And as a consequence, no student who goes to college who cannot afford it is turned away because the endowment is sufficiently large. For a municipality, for a university, for anything that has an ongoing thing, do not ever, ever consider selling land. Lease it for sure. Do not sell it.
Okay, thank you for your feedback on that.
The third one is
Now,
perhaps
so
the more important
that's
one.
your third question
Yes,
now, and you've
third
got
and
a
last.
line up behind you. So typically you're allowed one question with a follow-up.
So I gave you.
So I guess you're going to ask your
Yeah,
third
I'm gonna ask
question
him
then.
I passed on to you, and I've already had a discussion, at least I sent a message to Councillor Jeff Shamey, who was aware of this. As you can see, the Westmount Hydro, which used to be a source of revenue, has over the last 7-8 years devolved from being a source of revenue of 2 odd million in 2016, is now projected to be over 3 million for 2023, and the trend is quite clear. This is hugely worrying As an economist, when one looks at a utility and one sees something like this, we know that the revenues are pretty stable. Costs are normally done on an ongoing basis so that you don't get this sort of thing happening. When you get this sort of thing happening, it is almost always a consequence of deferred maintenance generating expenses that have to be dealt with now. And that will only get worse. So, Jeff, tell me about this.
Sure. Firstly, Mr.
Shammy, do you want to address some of this? Because
Sure.
this is about capital investments as well.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank Mr. Bresloff for sending me the question. And I've put together some answers, which to save time, if you allow me after the meeting, I'll flip you the response. But at 30,000 feet, I first would like to perhaps clarify some of the points that you raised about the negative net contribution. I'd like to point out that Hydro Westmount looks at not only the operating costs, but as well some of the capital costs. So there's a mix. And I think it's really important that we look at that. So Westmount Hydro has invested over these, and I look back, the figures I'm going to send you go back to 2014. These capital investments are not only necessary, but they're essential.
Agreed.
We have to allocate funds for these type of investments. In 2016, the analysis of Westmount Hydro's network at the time revealed we needed to take action to reach the level below which the network would become inoperable and risk major outages. For this reason, we've gradually increased our capital investments. That's the pay-as-you-go through the capital works projects. But at the same time, we had to carry out priority interventions, renewals, preventive maintenance. That shows up in the operating budget, that's where we're seeing these negative figures that you've eloquently illustrated. For example, we've invested an average of $2.3 million per year in infrastructure to stabilize the condition, to slow the pace of deterioration. Remember, Mr. Breslau, we're a 155-year-old city. We have a huge amount of infrastructure that needs upgrade, that needs to be maintained, sustained, and we need to invest in it. These investments include, for example, load redistribution, underground infrastructure on Lansdowne, Upper Belmont, Clark, Metcalfe, Ingleside, upgrades to the above ground infrastructure, replacements of lead cables, the installation of electric charging stations, le programme de véhicules électriques. These are part of that we need to be ready for today and for tomorrow. Beyond these investments, also other factors have impacted Hydro Westmount's profitability in recent years. For example, supply chain disruptions have resulted in significant cost increases ranging from 25 to 34%, impacting our operating costs. In addition, in 2020 and in 2021, at the peak of COVID, many of the city's businesses were consuming less electricity. They may have been closed and reduced their operations. This resulted in significant decreases in Hydro Westmount's revenues. Like you've mentioned, we all hope that these investments will weigh less on the city's budget, and I know the Commissioner of Finance is looking at this. We're reflecting and studying this in a very serious way. Studies are being conducted now to what are the best energy strategies for the city of Westmount. Our objective is to provide the community with reliable, modern electricity service, which is in line with the energy transition imperative and the city's financial capacity. At this stage, we must look at the operating and the capital expenditures. You raised very good points. I'll get you this additional data, and I'll flip you the email.
Okay,
So Councillor D'Amico has a final point on this, and then we'll have to move on to the next question or the next person.
If you look at the budget of 2023,
yes,
the gross revenue from Hydro Westmount was $30,205,300. The cost was $29,848.
29 million.
848,800. So it's a misnomer to say that Hydro Westmount is losing money. The revenue minus expenses were making money.
that's operating. That's operating.
Yes, operating. The pay as you go is $3,075,000, which is greater than the 2.7. So there's a capital
a large portion of that is capital, but if you do the revenue.
No, in a utility, in a public utility, the capital component is a very, very significant part of running a utility. You don't split it out and say, well, that's capital. Then you're in Algonquin's situation. It is hugely important that a utility is able to plan, because the expenses, I mean, Madam Mayor, a new transformer, a new substation is $20–30 million. And as Jeff pointed out, our capital is old. This is not just a question. This is actually serious. It's a huge amount.
This is an issue that we take very, very seriously, the future of Hydro Westmount and how we would pay for that and invest in that in the city. And I think Councillor Shammy and both Councillor Shammy and D'Amico have explained how seriously we take this issue.
Jeff,
So thank you for your question.
Yeah. Thank you for your,
Next.
Thanks for your time. By the way, can citizens also have a deferral of contract for 2 or 3 years so we don't have to increase our things to the blue coal in fairness?
That can you not pay taxes for 2 or 3 years? No.
Just no increase in augmentation.
Okay, thank you. Next question. And this is
good evening. My name's Jason. I'm one of the representatives for the Blue Collars of the City of Westmount.
welcome.
Thank you for allowing us to sit in this evening. I'd like to I have a two-part question, depending on how much you're aware of the situation. I'd like to know if you guys are actually aware of the fact that basically the city has used taxpayer funds to hire 2 external firms for a toxic work environment that we've been dealing with. Now we're approaching almost a year later, and we have yet to see any results on the second firm's analysis of our work environment. The members aren't here simply for the fact of their contract. The members are actually here for more than that. You guys say you appreciate the service that we give, but in the end, the employees don't ask for that much. They'd like a fair pay. They'd like raises when they're supposed to be given. You guys put the taxes up yearly, but yet we're waiting 4 years for our raise. There's issues that perhaps not everybody is aware of. We've been trying to address certain issues internally about a vermin infestation in some of the buildings. There are employees that have droppings in the lunchrooms. These are ongoing issues that unfortunately, this is what it's come to try and get them settled, because we feel like we're at a standstill. There is no more advancement. So although you may think we are simply here for our contract, yes, that is half of it, but there is a bigger underlying issue that we are trying to get addressed.
In terms of workplace.
Well, like I said, half of it is our contract. The other half is the toxic work environment that we deal with. This is something that is easily verifiable on your end, because the city has hired 2 external firms. We're approaching 1 year now. Okay, come springtime, the city came, they pretty much told us what was going on with that. And almost a year later, we have seen 0 progress.
In terms of dealing with the state of public works, the constant mice infestation.
The mice is actually the least of the issues. You're gonna have to read the report before I get into too many details of it, because there should be a report. Like I said, there's 2 firms that we were promised after the second firm was hired that this was going to be addressed. And now a year later, we're still waiting on answers.
Okay, I will address this. Mr. Lapointe and I will meet about the report that you're speaking of, and see what we can do then. And I do hope that these issues are resolved quickly and starting back at the table on Friday.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you're referring, when you're talking about toxic work environment, you're talking about the building in specific, right? Workplace culture. Okay, I just wanted to clarify what.
If I can give you a very quick rundown, and this is going to be extremely quick because I could keep you guys here for an hour. And if they answer for me once I get started, it's very difficult to get me stopped. But basically, our collective agreement is not even respected to half a degree. Okay, we have grievances in place, they get tossed aside. The procedures that are supposed to be followed for overtime, for forced overtime, the way we're supposed to be, there is no actual structure. Okay, there's no internal mechanism. It becomes an issue of if people refuse overtime because the structure isn't actually implemented, they become scared. And I don't use that term loosely. They actually become scared. They're worried they're gonna get reprimanded. And if they're not gonna be directly reprimanded, they're gonna be reprimanded in other ways. They feel that they get harassed, they feel they get intimidated, and when people speak up, they get pushed back into a corner.
Okay, thank you for sharing that with me.
You're not getting that reaction for a contract. I barely spoke about our contract. This reaction is being given because this is the point that people have reached.
Okay, thank you all. I do appreciate you all coming here, and whether you asked a question or you were just here in support of those who asked a question, that in itself says a lot as well. So I want to thank you for coming, and again reiterate the appreciation that we have for the work that you do, and we understand that you guys keep the city running. You keep the city safe. You keep the city clean. And we really do understand the importance of the work that you do. And in terms of the things that you brought up in terms of workplace environment, whether that be both the physical space and also the culture, that needs to be addressed. And that's something that we take that I take very seriously. And we've made some changes here at City Hall to address some of those things. But we have to make sure that that gets not just at the top, that addresses all throughout the workforce. So thank you for raising it. And I hope that we can resolve this soon and get this get this solved, most importantly for you guys. So thank you for coming. Does anyone else want to add anything there? No? No more questions? Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions de la salle? Parce qu'on va commencer avec... J'ai déjà fait le tour de travaux publics quelques fois. I've seen it. Okay, we're going to start with the next part of the meeting. On va commencer avec le... We'll just wait till it clears out. Okay, thank you. On va commencer avec l'adoption de l'ordre du jour. Councillor Bostock with some additions.
I move that the agenda of the regular council sitting of February 6, 2023 be adopted with the following items under new business. 17.1, payment, Westmount Battery. 17.2, employment termination, Assistant Director General, Sustainable Development of the Territory and Living Environment.
Thank you. A seconder on that, Counselor Gallery, all in favor? Item number 5, confirmation of minutes. Counselor Bostock again.
I move that the minutes of the regular council sitting held on January 16, 2023, and of the special sittings held on January 18 and January 27, 2023 be approved.
Thank you. A seconder, Counselor Shammy, all in favor? Item number 6, reports to council, rapport Conseil, de correspondance. The following documents have been tabled. Les documents suivants sont déposés. La liste des règlements adoptés à l'Assemblée ordinaire du Conseil d'agglomération du 26 janvier 2023. Le règlement bylaw 04047-223 of the Ville de Montréal entitled Règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal 04047. Its annexes, as well as the certificate of publication of the public notice concerning the entry into force of the said regulation. Our next item is le règlement 04047-235 de la Ville de Montréal intitulé Règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal 04047. Ses annexes A, B et C, ainsi que le certificat de publication de l'avis public concernant l'entrée en vigueur d'audit règlement. Oh, that was the second one, sorry. Avis public de consultation publique de la Ville de Montréal sur le projet vers une feuille de route montréalaise en économie circulaire qui se tiendra le 16 février 2023. L'avis public de la Ville de Montréal pour l'Assemblée publique sur le bilan de l'équipe mobile de médiation et l'intervention sociale qui se tiendra le 14 février 2023. Le 6.2, Councillor Bostock.
I move that the minutes of the General Committee of Council meetings held on November 21 and December 5, 2022 are tabled and are available on the city's website.
Thank you. 6.3, Councillor Bostock again.
The minutes of the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting held on October 11, 2022 are tabled and are available on the city's website.
Thank you. 6.4, Councillor D'Amico.
Oui, excuse-moi, Madame la mairesse. Les listes de facturation des droits de mutation pour le mois de janvier 2023 sont déposées.
Merci beaucoup. Encore 6.5, Conseiller D'Amico.
The list of payments for the month of December 2022 is tabled.
Thank you. 6.6, Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In accordance with bylaw 1507 on the delegation of powers to certain employees of the city of Westmount, the list of authorization of expenditures for the month of December 2022 is now tabled.
Thank you very much. 6.7, Monsieur le greffier.
Alors, Madame la mairesse, conformément à l'article 92.1 de la loi sur les cités et villes, je dépose les procès-verbaux de correction portant sur la résolution 2023-01-18 et sur le règlement numéro 1593, ainsi qu'une copie des documents modifiés.
Merci beaucoup. Numéro 7, item number 7, orientation, adoption of council's position on the items to be submitted to the Montreal Urban Agglomeration Council. Councillor Bostock.
I move that the mayor, or in her absence, the acting mayor, be authorized to make any decisions she deems necessary and in the best interest of the city of Westmount and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the Montreal Urban Agglomeration Council meeting to be held on February 23, 2023.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Number 8, again, Councillor Bostock, modification to the regular council sitting schedule, March 2023.
I guess I'll read the whereases for this one just because it's different. Whereas at its regular sitting of December 5th, 2022, the council adopted resolution number 2022-12-300, establishing the schedule of regular council sittings for 2023. Whereas according to this resolution, council sitting of March 8th, 2023 is scheduled for 5:30 p.m. Whereas pursuant to section 319 of the Cities and Towns Act CQLR CC-19, council may decide that a regular sitting is to begin on a date other than that specified in the schedule. Whereas the schedule of, whereas the schedule of regular council sittings for the current year should be amended to modify the date of the regular sitting of March 8th, 2023. I move that the schedule for the regular council sittings resolution number 2022-12-300 be amended so that the regular council sitting schedule for Wednesday, March 8th, 2023 be held on Monday, March 6th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. That a notice be published to this effect in accordance with the Cities and Towns Act.
Thank you, Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item number 9, Journée de la persévérance scolaire.
Merci, Madame la mairesse.
Madame Roux.
Un peu rapide, je m'excuse. Merci. Attendu que la campagne sur les journées de la persévérance scolaire regroupant plusieurs partenaires se tiendra du 13 février au 17 février 2023 sur la thématique « L'importance de l'entourage. Nos gestes, un plus pour leur réussite » et que ces journées se veulent un temps fort dans l'année témoignant de la mobilisation collective autour de la persévérance et de la réussite scolaire. Attendu que l'appui et la persévérance et la présence bienveillante de tous les adultes sont primordiaux dans la réussite scolaire. Attendu que les élus municipaux veulent témoigner de leur solidarité et de leur soutien envers les jeunes et envers l'ensemble des intervenants du réseau de l'éducation. Attendu que les élus municipaux collaborent aux efforts de la collectivité montréalaise en matière de persévérance scolaire et de réussite éducative, entre autres à travers les mouvements Réussite éducative, les élus s'engagent de Concertation Montréal. Je propose que la Ville de Westmount proclame la semaine du 13 au 17 février 2022 comme celle des Journées de la persévérance scolaire, que la Ville exprime unanimement et publiquement la solidarité et le soutien envers les jeunes et envers l'ensemble des intervenantes et intervenants du réseau de l'éducation, que la Ville appuie le témoignage des Journées de la persévérance scolaire 2023 sur la thématique « L'importance de l'entourage, nos gestes, un plus pour leur réussite » et invite les élus et élues à y participer.
Merci beaucoup. Un appuyant, c'est le conseiller D'Amico. Est-ce que vous avez d'autres commentaires?
Ben, je ne pense pas j'ai beaucoup à faire pour convaincre les gens de notre communauté de l'importance de la persévérance scolaire, mais je ne pense pas non plus que nos jeunes sont à l'abri nécessairement plus qu'ailleurs. Et ce qui va vraiment me chercher ici, c'est de se faire rappeler qu'on a tous un rôle à jouer là-dedans, que c'est des petits gestes que chacun de nous peut poser envers les enfants qui peuvent les motiver à rester puis que ça va transformer leur vie. Alors, j'encourage tout le monde à faire les petits gestes qu'ils peuvent faire pour encourager nos jeunes et aussi voir plus grand que juste notre communauté. Mais...
Parfait. Merci beaucoup. All in favor? Carried. Item number 10, Councillor Gallery, partnership agreement with the Westmount Recreation Center and the Westmount YMCA Youth Center.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the partnership agreement between the City of Westmount and the YMCA's of Quebec, Westmount, be renewed. That the 2023 annual financial contribution for the youth center located at the Westmount Rec Center be authorized for a total amount of $58,776 and be allocated in accordance with the financial information contained in the decision-making summary number 2023-1797 and the partnership agreement. That the city's financial contribution be paid in 2 equal installments, the first being payable on February 15th, 2023, and the second on July 15th, 2023.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this, Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments? This is
It's our annual agreement.
Perfect. All in favor? Carried. Item number 11, donation Jill Steinberg. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Steinberg.
Steinberg. I
Councillor
won't
Roux.
correct you. Thank you. I will read the whereases because this doesn't happen often. It's not the first time, but it doesn't happen often. Whereas by allocating surpluses to specific projects or elements, these amounts cannot be used for purposes other than those approved by council. Whereas Ms. Jill Steinberg contacted the city to make a donation to the Westmount Public Library. I move that the city of Westmount accept the donation of $50,000 from Ms. Jill Steinberg, subject to the condition that this amount be appropriated to the exclusive use of the Westmount Public Library. That a new appropriation account be created to set aside an amount for the exclusive use of the Westmount Public Library.
Thank you. Councillor Shammy would like to second that. That's a lovely donation to our jewel of a library. Do you have any further comments on that?
No, well, it's always very exciting, and I know how wonderful people at the library are, all the efforts that the city makes for the library. So it's nice when it's recognized in this way, and to assure Ms. Steinberg that we will use up the money wisely and be very careful with it.
Yep.
So thank you very much. And if other citizens feel like doing the same thing, you're most welcome. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Item number 12, le paiement de la quote-part à l'UMQ. Monsieur Conseil Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the amount of $85,642.10, tax included, be paid to the Union des Municipalités du Québec for the payment of the City of Westmount's share of the guarantee fund, the professional fees and the cost of issuing the call for tenders for the period of February 16th, 2022 to February 16th, 2023, the whole in accordance with the financial information presented in the decision-making summary 2023-1791.
Thank you very much. The seconder is Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Carried. Item number 13, adjustment of salaries for white collar and professional interns. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the salaries of white collar and professional interns be increased as follows: from $16.50 an hour to $17.50 an hour for college students, i.e. white collar interns, from $19 to $21 an hour for undergraduate students, i.e. professional interns, and that an hourly rate of $22.70 be implemented for graduate students, i.e. professional interns, and that said increases be effective from January 1st, 2023.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Carried. Item number 15 is 14, excuse me, is call for tenders by invitation supply of Itron electric meters, INV 2023-001. Again, Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $292,202, including tax credits for the supply of Itron electric meters, tender by invitation number INV 2023-001, and to award to GF Tech Controls, Inc. the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $335,959.25, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call of tender by invitation INV 2023-001. And finally, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2023-1798.
Thank you very much. Councillor D'Amico is going to second that. Any further comments?
Straightforward.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 15 is renewal of a contract collection and transport of recyclable materials for the city of Westmount. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas following a call for public tenders number PW 2018-1025, the Municipal Council awarded a contract for the collection and transportation of recyclable materials for the city of Westmount to Services Recova Incorporated by resolution number 2019-01-11 for a period of 3 years from April the 1st, 2019 to March the 31st, 2022. And whereas the contract includes the option to renew it twice at the discretion of the city for a period of 12 months. And whereas council authorized renewal of the contract awarded to Services Recova Inc. for the collection and transportation of recyclable materials for the city of Westmount from the period of April the 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. And whereas the Director of Public Works recommended renewing the contract from the period of for the period from April the 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024. I therefore move to authorize the renewal of the contract awarded as part of the call for public tenders PW 2018-1025, resolution number 2019-01-11 to Services Recova Inc. for the collection and transportation of recyclable materials for the city of Westmount for the period of April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024 for a maximum amount of $283,951.27, including taxes. To authorize the expenditure of the amount of $256,285.36, including tax credits, for the purpose of this contract, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders PW 2018-1025. And finally, I move to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making files number 2018-0674, 2022-1460, and 2023-1800.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aronson. A seconder on this will be Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments?
Very briefly, Madam Mayor.
1-year extension.
This is the last year of the contract with Rakova. We have asked and determined that there's no issue, problem, or concern with renewing this contract for the collection of our recyclable materials in the city of Westmount. So I would urge my fellow councillors to pass this motion, and because we are spending an enormous amount of taxpayer money on the recycling project, I'd urge the citizens and residents of Westmount, please, to make use of this program and to do so in a manner that ensures that the recycling materials they put into the system are actually recyclable by properly sorting them, cleaning them, and making sure to be put out on time so that they are picked up in an effective manner.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 16, demande de dérogation mineure, 339 Olivier, minor exemption application 339 Olivier. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. As I do for all minor derogations, I will read the whereases because they are particular to every case. Whereas the City of Westmount's bylaw 1576 on minor exemptions was adopted on September 20th, 2021, whereas a minor exemption can only be granted if the application of the zoning or subdivision bylaw would cause serious prejudice to the person requesting it. Whereas a minor exemption may be granted only if the application of the bylaw causes serious harm to the person requesting the minor exemption. Nor may it be granted if it hinders the owners of neighboring properties in the enjoyment of their right of ownership, or if it exacerbates safety or public health risk, or affect the quality of the environment or general well-being. Whereas a minor exemption must respect the objectives of the City of Westmount's master plan, whereas the proposed new garage is considered an addition to the main building, whereas at its meeting held on August 18th of 2022, the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, suggested that the location of the proposed new garage be moved back to allow for better architectural integration with the rest of the main building in order to meet the objectives and criteria by Law 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs. Whereas the rear wall of the new garage would now be established at a distance of 25.66 feet or 7.82 meters beyond the rear wall of the existing main building. Whereas subsection 5.3.6 of zoning bylaw 1303 stipulates that an existing attached or semi-detached building may not be extended to the rear more than 11.48 feet or 3.5 meters beyond the face of the existing rear wall. Whereas the projected extension of 14.18 feet or 4.32 meters beyond the maximum distance stipulated in subdivision 5.3.6 of zoning bylaw 1303. Whereas the projected extension is necessary for the new garage to offer a better architectural integration with the rest of the main building, as well as to meet the objectives and criteria of bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs. Whereas the object of the exemption can be considered as minor, whereas the impact of the neighborhood of such construction is negligible, I move that the preamble be an integral part of this resolution. The council approve the application for a minor exemption for the property located at 339 Olivier Avenue to allow the rear wall of the proposed new garage to be established beyond the maximum distance of 11.48 feet or 3.5 meters permitted from the rear wall of the main building as stipulated in subdivision 5.3.6 of zoning bylaw 1303, the whole in accordance with the decision-making summary number 2023-1813.
Thank you very much. Councillor Peart. Councillor Gallery would like to second this. Do you have any further comments? It's fairly comprehensive.
It's quite comprehensive,
motion.
and it's usually at this point that I point out that one of the guiding principles that we use for the consideration of our minor exemptions is when there's a situation where one bylaw is in conflict with another bylaw, and in this case, it's our zoning bylaw, which would prescribe one solution, but then that solution would be in conflict with our site planning and architectural integration bylaw, which would result in a less desirable architectural solution. And so the mechanism that we use to find a balance between these two conflicts is to ask for a minor exemption, and this is what's happening here today.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Now we have new business items, 17.1, payment of the Westmount Battery. That is Councillor Roux.
So I'll read the whereas because there's an important clarification. So whereas in accordance with section 91 of the Municipal Powers Act, CQLR C.C-47.1, a local municipality may grant assistance for the undertaking and furtherance of cultural activities, works of charity, and any action for the general welfare. Whereas an agreement was entered into between the City of Westmount and the Westmount Battery in 2021. I move that a payment of $5,000 to the Westmount Battery for the maintenance of the cannon and the purchase of historically accurate costumes be approved, that the expenditure be allocated according to the financial information described in the decision-making file number 2023-1824.
Thank you, Councillor Roux. Councillor Shammy would like to second this. Any further comments? I think citizens would have seen this out at a few of our events, our Family Day, our memorial.
No, for the Queen.
For the Queen. And it goes to the restoration and aiding this group to put those on. Anything else to add to that? No?
I think you've said it all.
All in favor? Carried. Item 17.2, appointment termination, Assistant Director General, Sustainable Development of the Territory and Living Environment. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll read the whereases. Whereas Michelle Larue was appointed to the position of Director of Urban Planning as of October 13th, 2020, resolution number 2020-09168, and was promoted to the position of Assistant Director General, Sustainable Development of the Territory and Living Environment on October 4th, 2021, resolution number 2021-10-245. Whereas on February 6, 2023, the City of Westmount and Monsieur Larue permanently severed their employment relationship. And whereas the City and Monsieur Larue have agreed on the terms of following this termination of employment, I move, Madam Mayor, that Council ratify the agreement reached with Monsieur Michel Larue. And finally, that the Substitute Director General be authorized to pay Monsieur Larue all amounts due to him according to the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel and the terms of the agreement entered into on February 3rd, 2023.
Thank you very much. A seconder on this will be Councillor Bostock. I'll just have a few comments on this. With the new, we are looking at a new structure in the city in terms of, and that will be with the new Director General, that all directors report directly into the Director General. So that changes the structure a little bit with obviously with the AGG position. So that is why this is that's why this motion is there. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Leroux for his service to the city and the incredible work that he did, and his dedication to urban planning, but also to citizen engagement, and really bringing forward some incredible ideas. So I really would like to thank him for all the work that he did.
And if I can add, Madam Mayor, I just want to join you with other members of council to wish him well in his future endeavors, and again, to thank him for his dedication and for his service to the city of Westmount.
Yeah, and I think with a city this size, this structure is a more suitable structure for the city. So all in favor? Carried. Item number 18. Oh, we don't have any more items. So we now move to the second question period. If there's any questions in the room, and then we'll go to any questions that have been submitted online.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is John Fritz. I'm
Welcome,
on
Mr.
Lansdowne
Fritz.
Avenue. I have a question. It's regarding your statement, Madam Mayor, in the 2020 budget. On your remarks, you say an environment division is to be organized within Public Works.
Yes.
I personally hadn't heard anything along those lines. I was wondering if you might elaborate a little bit. Will it be the type of division that includes outside consultants? Will it be a contact point for community groups? How can you elaborate a bit?
Yeah, so it will be, I think you've probably met Madame Rosette
Yeah.
before, who is now the chef de division of that group, and she will have, I believe it's 2 employees or 1 employee working with her. Is it 2? Yeah, and so it's really is to focus. And she has a lot of work on her plate. Obviously, she manages a lot of the environmental initiatives, and this is in order for her to be able to plan more, to be more proactive, for us to meet, higher measures, we need to put more emphasis on it. So that is, and yes, they will be meeting with community groups. She will work very closely, obviously, with the public works team, with the and the horticulturalists that work with the city, landscape architects, things like that. But it is, the goal is to put more emphasis on it. Yes, and it's the work is important, and it's going to take more than one person. So that is. And it's, pardon, sorry. Yes, and she's working across the organization. So it's not just, let's say, recycling within, she's going to work across the organization for us to improve our sustainability measures.
Okay, great. So you said it was Madame Rosette?
Yes, Madame Patricia Rosette.
Great. And that's all going to be happening pretty soon?
Well, she has been nominated into the position of chef de division. She has been given that promotion, and I'm not sure where we are at with the hiring of the other roles, but I think that they may be already posted.
It's all happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for your contribution on that, because it is like feedback from citizens like you, especially about Summit Woods and our parks and the importance of biodiversity, that we really are, it's important that we hear from you on that, because these are important issues and they're important to our residents, and we have to continue to improve.
Well, it's always a pleasure. And I think there's kind of a lot of community groups now, or more than before. So
yeah,
it's a great time for all this stuff to be happening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions in the room before we go to online? No? Est-ce qu'il y a des questions en ligne?
No more questions.
Okay. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.